I noticed her before anyone else did, slipping quietly through the restaurant door, shoulders hunched like she was carrying the weight of the world. She didn't want attention, she wanted to disappear. But her little girl trailed behind her, tiny hand gripping hers, wide eyes scanning the room with that quiet curiosity only children have. I watched her settle at a corner table, ordering nothing, scanning the menu nervously as if every word weighed her down. Something in her gaze made my chest tighten, a mix of worry, fatigue, and quiet desperation. I could feel the story she carried, unspoken, resting heavy on her shoulders. The waitress placed a plate in front of me, a simple meal, and that's when I noticed the girl. She stared at it, small eyes widening, a mix of hunger and hesitation. I froze. I had just eaten half my meal without thinking, but her gaze cut deeper than any pang of hunger I had felt before. I nudged the plate closer, forcing a smile. "Would you like some?" I asked softly. The little girl's mother looked up, startled, a flicker of fear crossing her face. She shook her head quickly, murmuring, "No, it's fine. Thank you." But her eyes betrayed her, the uncertainty, the worry about what kindness might cost them. Her daughter hesitated, then reached slowly, shy fingers brushing the food. The warmth of the moment, so fragile, so human, made something inside me ache. I had never known a single plate could carry such weight, such meaning. "Really," I said gently, "take it. I don't need it all." The mother's lips pressed together, caught between pride and the need to survive. Finally, with a nod, she allowed her child to eat. The girl's first bite came with a quiet giggle, and in that sound, the room seemed to breathe a little easier. I watched them, wanting to speak, to bridge the invisible distance, but unsure if words could carry the safety and trust needed in that moment. Sometimes kindness is quieter than speech, louder than 1,000 explanations. "Thank you," she whispered finally, voice barely audible. It wasn't just for the food. It was for seeing her, for acknowledging their humanity when the world had ignored them. I nodded, pretending it was nothing, but inside I felt a strange swelling, a mixture of sorrow and gratitude for this fleeting connection. The little girl looked up at me, eyes sparkling, innocent, unjudging. "Mister, you're nice," she said simply. Her mother chuckled softly, embarrassed, but I saw the relief in her eyes. Sometimes the simplest words can heal the heaviest hearts. Over the next few minutes, I tried to make conversation, asking her about school, her favorite colors, small things that reminded me they were more than their struggles. Each answer carried bravery I could barely imagine, hope tucked beneath worry, courage hidden in fear. Her plate emptied, but the warmth remained. She stood to leave, slipping coins onto the table, almost apologetic for taking my kindness. I waved it off, telling her she owed nothing. Some debts aren't measured in money but in humanity shared quietly between strangers. As they moved toward the door, I noticed the mother pause, glancing back, a tear sliding down her cheek. That brief moment of connection, a stranger recognizing their need without judgment, seemed to lift a little of the burden she carried alone. Outside, I watched them disappear into the evening, hand in hand. I thought of the little girl's laughter, the small triumph of a shared meal, and felt a quiet satisfaction that true kindness doesn't wait for reward. It exists in the action itself. Later, I realized something. The simple act of sharing my food had rippled beyond that moment. It had reminded me that attention, empathy, and patience are gifts as powerful as any material wealth. That child would remember this, maybe carry the memory into adulthood, learning to trust, to give, to see others. Days later, I returned to the restaurant and found a small note on my table. "Thank you. You reminded us someone cares." No name, just words that made my heart swell. It wasn't the recognition I craved, but the knowledge that one act of compassion could matter so much. I reflected on how easy it is to overlook people in need, to walk past without noticing, to judge silently. And yet, a little awareness, a little generosity, could change a life, sometimes quietly, sometimes forever. The moral settled gently in me. Kindness costs almost nothing, yet it has the power to heal, to teach, to ripple outward in ways you may never see. That evening, I realized that true strength isn't in power or wealth, but in noticing, in giving, and in choosing humanity above convenience or fear. And though I never saw them again, I carry that memory, the little girl's wide eyes, her mother's silent gratitude, as a reminder that compassion is timeless, that the smallest acts often leave the deepest marks, and that sometimes, one plate shared quietly is enough to remind the world of its own humanity.